Takes a minute. All right. So what's up, guys? Chris from Factory Forge here, joined by Darin and KD from CrossFit Cada. One of the reasons, guys, I wanted to have you guys on is I'm so freaking proud of the success you guys have been having in the middle of a pandemic, and I really wanted people to understand your journey and where you guys came from. So thank you guys for taking the time with me.
Of course.
Thank you, Chris, for having us.
All right. So, a lot of people are really wondering how people are making decisions in the gym world right now. And you guys seem to have hurdled a lot of challenges from, having a family and starting a new business early on when we first met to really understanding how to navigate this world that we're in now. So we're going to kind of cover the whole spectrum, if you would, and get like the full picture, because I think that's honestly what business owners want to know and, peel behind the curtain. So we're just going to kind of take it from the top. So with that being said, we've been working together for about 3 years now, but I want you to take me back before, like, how did it all start? Where did the vision come from? And then share, like, why'd you get started out in, Colorado? Darin, I'll start with you.
So for us, we had gotten started both in CrossFit about 10 years ago. Both grew up playing team sports, very active our whole lives. And I think for us, this whole thing started for a lot of people in the CrossFit world. We were missing that element of life that we had become so accustomed to. Go to class, go to practice, go to class, go to practice. And when you're out of that organization, you go to work, and then you're kind of left to your own devices, kind of like, well, what do? I don't have a program. I don't have a coach. I don't have a mentor or anything structured like that. So, we were both still active people. And at the time, I lived in Breckenridge. Katie lived in Silverthorne, Colorado, which are neighboring towns. And we both lived active lives, skied, hiked, camped, that kind of stuff. But I think we were both yearning for something a little more. And that's when I started in CrossFit. And then we met soon thereafter through our church. And Katie then got into CrossFit about, I would say, 4 to 6 months later, after some coaxing, but then also some just like whatever, you do your own thing kind of deal.
Yeah. So where does the business fit into all this? Like, was it your idea? Was it her idea? Like, when did you get serious about?
That was early on in our dating relationship. We got engaged, and then started looking at what we would do for life. And we didn't really feel like a ski resort town is probably the best fit for us. So it was a combination of where do we want to put down roots and what do we want to do as a career. And I worked in human resources at the time. Katie worked in resort management. So customer service has always been a part of who we are. And I think that's how we're really eloquently positioned in this industry, is that serving people has been always on the forefront of our mind. And so about 5 to 6 months after we got married, we're like, well, what should we do?
So we started the natural next step, right?
The natural next step. When you get married, it's boring, right? 6 months start a business. No, but we at that point in time in our lives, in talking and a lot of prayer and a lot of communication with each other, we decided that the ski town was not where we want to put down roots or start a family, and so it was going to be a career change. There was going to be a natural progression. I wasn't. Human resources wasn't a passion of mine. It was a great job, and it's what some of my background is in. Katie, resort management, retail management, not a passion of hers. And so we looked at that time in our life, what could we do to help our community? What could we do to, be something we're passionate about, how we could serve people and use our talents, skills, abilities. And that's really when we started looking at becoming affiliate owners. We had both been coaching prior to that time, but we had never taken that leap of faith to say, okay, this is what we're going to really pursue. And that was January of 2013, really.
Yeah. So you guys were very service oriented. You understand what people need, and you want to provide that and really give to them. And I think the piece that I hear in there, and a lot of owners and business minds that I speak with, is like, we come from a place of serving. And then when we get into the business, we start to really, understand that, whoa, there's a lot more to this thing than just providing the service. Katie, can you explain a little bit about what the first few years were like in business, as well as partnering with your husband?
Okay, so when we moved down to Littleton to open the gym, I had the income. I was in management still for retail, and so I had the income for the first 2 years.
Yeah.
The first 2 years, and Darin. So I mean, we had every class, and Darin coached every class, and we lived 25 minutes or so away from the gym on a good day. And so he'd get up at 4:30 in the morning, go coach 5, 6, 8 a.m. Take a nap under the desk so that if someone came in, they didn't know he was there.
Oh, I love that. You are all in, Darin.
and then uh, and then come home and eat and then go back. Uh, Real quick, fast forward to now, somehow he still is getting up early like that, but also having 2 kids, no naps under the desk. So we've figured that part out. But
Yeah. So what were some of the bigger, issues inside the business, since, you're in the operating seat? I always say that, you're the owner, that gives you equity, or like you can pull profit out, but then you're really the manager, the operator. Were there any things that really overwhelmed you, challenged you, being on the service side? There's obviously like all this getting clients in the door, managing all the to-dos. Like, was there something that you really struggled with?
there's one thing that really comes to mind, and it rings true just now. When we took all of our members who've been with us 4+ years, and we made workouts for them, and we put their year and their date that they started with us on their workout, and some of those people just say fall or winter of 2013 because it was so long ago that we took cash, we took checks, we took anybody that would pay us, and then we didn't have any system to put their actual start date in.
It's like the writing it on a napkin. Like,
Basically. So then, when we started having that back end operation system, because I was in management for almost 10 years, I knew how to run a business. I was in charge. I was the boss. I did do profit and loss statements. So I understood that background thing. And that was super clutch, I think, knowing that we needed to do that, but not really knowing exactly how to do that for a new business. So definitely in the beginning, that was something that Darin was off working his buns off trying to get as much people in the door as we could. It was like, but we have a back end of the business too.
Yeah, it's almost like, you're aware. I think the first step is like awareness that I need to do all these things. Like, that's a first aha moment of, wow, it's just more than coaching class, right? And even the member side, a lot of them are like, you must work out all day, right? And it's just like, oh, if you only knew, right? And so when you get to that point, I think it's like the how. Like, how do I start getting help for the things that I love to do, the things that I'm not good at, and then the things that I really don't want to do? So talk to me a little bit about that moment, maybe, of like, how did you know you needed help, and what was like the catalyst behind that piece? Like, what was broken in the business enough for you to say, yeah, I need a coach. I need to do something about this.
We just talked about this. We feel strongly that it was when we realized that what we were doing was just a hobby and not an actual business. Like, we loved what we did. And we went from, in the beginning, people saying, you're not running a charity, but we so badly wanted to, because we just wanted people. And if we could just, offer charity a little bit of the program to them, then they would come, but then they don't stay. And it was just this whole, like, our hearts are so strong for people, and we both have very strong servant hearts. So it was really hard to break away from that and realize, okay, but like, this isn't a charity. Now it's not a hobby. It has to be a business. But we're lucky that our hobby is our business. So how do we merge the two? And I think that really, really showed up to both of us when we had our first kiddo.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that piece, because it's almost like, I'm a recent, father, and it's like life just changes in that moment. And I described it as like a new life cycle inside the business as an owner. And it's like, nope, anything that was like fluffy or like I just kind of lingered around was like, I went through this list of like what to cut, what to keep. And certain stuff is just like, nope,
You
not a priority.
Kondoed your life.
What's that?
Did you Marie Kondo your life? You're supposed to say, "I love you," but you have to go.
I don't know who that is.
I don't either. Just let her go.
Okay.
She seemed really excited about that, but maybe I need to get filled in.
Some people will know.
But
I think-
yeah,
I
I think that moment of the kids, made a radical impact on me. What about you, Darin? I mean, you were the
I would
workhorse
say
in there.
before that, like, yeah, we came from a place where it was serve and serve and serve and serve and serve, and you just give and give and give, and you feel like there's this outpouring, like you're just trying to help everybody and anybody. And I think for us, it was like for me, when we first started the factory forge before we had kids, it was kind of this feeling of like woeful unpreparedness, where like I've got all these things that I feel like are important that I need to get done, but it's kind of like there's so much chaos. It's like nowadays when we talk to a client, they have so much information being overwhelmed on them with what's going to work, what is working, what do they need to do, when they really need somebody just to say, this is what you're going to do. Like, these are the things that have been crafted over time. This is what stood the test of time. These have been tried and tested. And here is a formula that we need to make some tweaks for you because you're an individual. Like, each CrossFit gym's different. But here is a plan of attack for you. And I think that was for me, like, that was the biggest thing. Was I have a business degree, I have a business background, but when you start to own your own business, you have to make, you're the one making the decision. Is this worth my time? And is this going to bring my business a reward or a return? And so, all kinds of owners talk about what was the worst piece of equipment you ever purchased. And I think that filters into lots of business decisions. Like, what's the most ridiculous thing you decided was important at the time, but later on down the road, you're like, what did I do that for? And so I think for me, that was the turning point where I was like, I need somebody to give me clarity. How am I going to spend my 24 hours of my day so that I make my business better? So that I can ultimately, again, go back to serving more people better. And that was for me at that point in time. And then, like Katie said, when you throw kids in the mix and you start looking at it as she's not working anymore and we need to pay bills, like, you start making decisions based on, this is a business. Like, if we're going to serve people and this isn't a hobby anymore, you got to really, really focus.
Yeah. And it's like no more charity, but at the same time, it's like, in order for you to help more people, you actually have to help yourself first, right? And it's like that shift, and maybe it was the kids that brought it on, maybe it was just the struggle of, whatever, but I think that's a big mindset shift of like maybe exiting the hobby, exiting it like we are just give, to the point where it has to take care of you to have the longevity, to have the lifestyle, the income, to even provide the impact.
We were kind of forced into that place too. When I was pregnant, I was on bed rest for 12 weeks of it. And not having my income, we were like, okay, well, this is our business and this is going to be the only thing. So I remember, writing to you the very first time, and I had redone our marketing proposal with Eli, 4 months old, sleeping on my lap. And I was like, this is it. Like, I have to make this happen with where we're at. So
what a cool memory to like, to look back now and say like, yep, we just had to roll with it. And you guys have done something incredible that I think, people without kids struggle with. And a lot of, owners, the saying is most businesses fail because of over opportunity, not under. And when you have to manage a family, when you have all the responsibilities of your kids, their schedules, occupying the time, and on top of that, like Darin, you mentioned being a business, major, it's almost like they forgot to tell you how many tasks there are and the challenges of knowing what to focus on based on where you're at in business and life. And I think that's the piece of overwhelm that a lot of owners go through. And, Katie, you mentioned when we first started connecting, it was a lot of like simplifying what you had going on, clarifying like how we can get things to work for you guys in your life. And then a lot of it was you guys really leaning into it. And that's the piece that I think why you're having the success you are now is like you're disciplined, you're committed, you're like an athlete, if you would. That's probably why you guys do so well at this. It's we just hopped on a training program and you're like, give me the next cycle, right? And it's like that's the big piece of what we're talking about is the analogy of training and building a business. The people that are succeeding are the ones that don't quit, and the ones that when they get stuck, they ask for a coach. So let's talk a little bit about that turning point then. When did, like, what can you remember some of the first changes in yourself as maybe like putting that owner hat on with a little bit of guidance and like maybe your perspective started looking at things differently?
Mine was specifically when I had Eli laying on my nap for a 4-hour nap. I was like, a 4-hour nap? And I started rewriting a really awful marketing plan that I'd done in the very beginning. We were like, we got to get this business open. The marketing degree in me tells me we need a marketing plan. My dad being an attorney, I was like, I have to have something, but I just am doing pencil whipping at that point. That was in 2013. And then when we first started connecting with you, I wrote a 16-page marketing plan, rewrote it, and sent it to you. And after I was done with that, I was like, okay, this is business. This is what I'm used to. This is not just a hobby. And we actually have some game plans. I was really, really excited to give you all of our plans in that and be able to then have you help us execute them. So that was like for sure a moment that's in my mind where I'm like, okay, we got to do this.
Yeah. And getting down to making it work, not just planning it, but seeing the results of the labor. Darin, what about you? I mean, you were in maybe a different aspect of the business than her, and a little bit more physical with the day-to-days. Where was your head when you started seeing maybe some changes in you or the business?
I guess I think for me, it was at about the time where, when you first open a business, you're so into operations and you're just like, we need to get the lights on, we need to get the classes up, we need to get coaching in, blah, 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 and we need to survive. Like it's survival mode. So you just do everything. Like you literally, like there were days when I'd be at the gym from 4 a.m. till 8 p.m. and it's just, you do every last little thing. And I think for me, it was like, if this is going to be something that's going to withstand the test of time, we have to have systems and we have to have sustainability. And you can't operate. Have there been times where we've had to operate at that capacity again? Yeah, absolutely. We've had coaches come and go. We've just recently gone through quarantine, coronavirus, and we're hopefully on the outs of that, getting out of the weeds, but who knows? And so there will be times again where they're all hands on deck for whatever reason. But those should be very small bursts, not the lifespan of your business. And so I think for me, it was, how do we create sustainability? How do we create systems? And then how do we have things that like an athlete, like what are some benchmarks? What are some checkpoints? What are some things that we can test, retest? If I only work out because I want to be in the best shape of my life, that's a pretty unattainable goal. And so for me, it's like, well, I want to have a business since this time, but I don't have anything intermediary to work on. I think that was the biggest help for me with Factory Forged is like, Darin, here's a task list for you. I'm a great task person when given like direction and given like a time, like Darin, do this thing right now. When it's like, Darin, you got all the time in the world to do these 4 things. It's like, sweet, I'm going to go do something else. But when it's like regimented, and for me, that was what I needed. I needed systems. I needed somebody to say, operate. Because as an athlete, that's typically where you find yourself as you have a coach that says, go on the field, make this play.
Yeah.
Okay. Or be at the gym at this time and do this rep scheme. All right.
It's what allowed you to really focus on the work and not worry about the strategy, right?
Yeah.
And you mentioned something really impactful, and I think that if businesses don't figure out that they need systems, they need checklists and processes, it's going to be impossible to succeed long term because there's no order. And the piece that I want to talk to you about, and Darin, I'm most excited about your recent transformation. And this is something so powerful, and why I was excited even telling my team that I wanted to talk with you guys. So when we started building out the structure, right, the foundation of the house, we started saying, hey, what does marketing look like? What does lead follow-up look like? What does sales look like? What does service look like? How do we keep it all running? And then we started going a little bit deeper into the tactics and the execution side of sales. And I specifically remember this conversation with you. It's almost like you doubted yourself. You doubted your ability when it came to selling and enrolling people. And then after, or right before the pandemic, something changed in you to be able to, and Katie, you and I talked about this, like, yeah, it's amazing. What is he doing? And like, where did it come from? So if you can think to that moment, like, what changed? Because we didn't change the process. Like, this was something inside of you, I feel like, that you tapped into in order to connect with people, not just on the attraction side of getting people there, but actually unlocking this thing inside of them. How did you do that? What was that change for you on the enrollments?
Yeah, I think honestly, two things happened. I think it was always there. I don't think there was enough pressure, to be honest. When you, like, example of like a piece of coal, it's dirty, it's not pretty, it's ugly, but you put that sucker under a ton of pressure over time and you keep pushing on it and pushing on it, pushing on it, it becomes a diamond. Okay. I think in a lot of ways, the pandemic coronavirus was the pressure. It was like back against the wall. It's life or death. You're either going to fight tooth and nail to get out of this. And so there was a day when I basically was kind of like, if we're going to survive and provide, and I'm the, her partner and father to these kids, and this gym's going to make it, like, I need to bring it. And there was no choice in my mind. There was not a choice to be like soft. And there was a choice to be made to say, this is what we do. And then I started looking back at all the things that we had done so well over the years and going, why have I not had this vigor before? And so I just made a decision one day. I was like, we are good at what we do. We make a difference in people's lives, and people should know that. And so there's that piece of being confident in what we've done, knowing ourselves, knowing what we can do for people, reassuring myself with that. And then there was the added pressure of, if you don't do this, Darin, you are not going to survive.
Yeah. And
I think that was the turning point for me. And so for me, it's like when I speak with someone over the phone, I talk to them in terms more so of like, if this is what you want and this is what you need and you're passionate about these things and you've tried and tried and tried, I know where you're at. I can empathize with people better, because as a business, we were trying and trying and trying, and we knew what we needed, but we weren't ready to make that, like, not out of anger, not out of like hostility or arrogance or anything like that, but like a stiffened resolve, I guess, is the best thing I can put it as. And so speaking with conviction with people, and not everybody jumps on board with it. Not everybody is ready for that. But I will say that there are more people that are ready for someone who's convicted, somebody who's ready to lead them from the front and say, no, this is what you want. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to take your hand. I'm going to guide you through this. And yes, will there be ups and downs? Absolutely. But now you're going to have somebody who is in your court that wants to see you succeed in ways that no one's going to talk to you about. And so you bring that passion to them, and they're like, whoa, hold up.
The thing that got me excited was, it's almost like you went through this individual transformation where a lot of coaches wear the coach hat in how you described your start, right? We were service people. We understood that. And that's like an identity. And then it's almost like through this process, you transformed into not just the service coach, the enrollment coach. right? Like the coach that had to show up for that person where they were at in their life, and they were having a really hard time believing in themselves. So you transferred that belief in them and said, take my hand, I got you. And that's the cool part of it. It's not, guys, for those of you guys that listen, this is not selling, this is enrolling. I feel like truly you're doing it and fulfilling that give that you started the business with. Like you wanted to give more, you gave them confidence through your confidence in your program, through your business, to the point where I joke with Katie now. She's like, you need to hear my husband. Like, I wanted to sign up for my own program. And
I'm so sorry. I did say that, like, in the past, I used to listen to his sales calls and I'd be like, or enrollment calls, like cringing a tiny little bit.
yeah.
Like,
I love that you called it a sales call, because that's probably how he went into it. Like, I need to sell this person, and now
sure.
he's enrolling them into this mindset.
Because it was a sales call, when he first started, and that wasn't something he was used to. He did not sound confident at all. That's where my cringe came from. I was like counting the number of the word that showed up in his conversations with people, and it was it was hard for me to go to him afterwards and be like, I'm sorry, but I listened to that and it wasn't great. but now I hear him, and it's like true passion, and the word starts with a C.
Conviction?
No.
The one thing I'll say is Darin worked his way into calling himself a diamond, and I love that best part. You were a diamond.
I did not know that piece of information.
Yeah, look at it. He's a wealth of knowledge. So the last thing guys I want to talk about, and thank you for sharing that piece. I think so many people need to hear that. Just because you own a business and you love taking care of people doesn't mean that you can't learn and build a skill to help people decide to move forward in something that's probably been the biggest setback in their life of not being who they want to be, or not getting the results they want. And there's something really powerful about that skill set, and I think you've tapped into that. So
yeah,
clearly.
Well, and I think for me it was, I don't want to fear offending a person. I'm fearful that I'm going to hurt someone's feelings. I'm fearful that I'm going to make them feel bad when they're hurting. And I think there comes a time when, when you are a coach and you nurture people, and there's a lot of coaches out there that don't want to be that, like, that angry, aggressive coach. They're soft. And there's a difference between being convicted and leading people through conviction. You can still be soft. You can still be nurturing. You can still be empathetic with people and not have to be like a DICK about it, for lack of a better term. And I think I really struggled with that, because I didn't want to be perceived as like conceited or arrogant or this like jerk gym owner coach. But at the end of the day, like, you have to speak to people with conviction. Like, they want to feel confident the person that they're going to has the solution. It might not be perfect, and there's going to be some tweaks, and there's going to be some changes. And so I just, in all honesty, Chris, I speak really honest with people, and there are people that, don't join, but there are a lot of people that do. And then the people that do, boy, they really know, like, who we are, and they know, and they have an expectation then. And I think that's been the key for me. So
it's an incredible skill to be a leader at that stage. And for everyone out there that may be skeptical of needing a business coach, wanting a business coach, could you talk a little bit about, the experience with us and with me, just so people out there can at least start the first step of saying, like, is a business coach right for me? And yeah, how would you answer that?
Yeah, I'll go first. I wrote down coaches need coaches. Like, I would never ever expect to go to CrossFit or any sort of thing and not be coached if that was even my profession. So I expect to be coached when I'm even in CrossFit class. But I think our relationship with you and speaking specifically about you being our business coach, because you're so personable, and it's not like I feel like you're just my business coach, like you're a good friend of ours, and that has been really helpful. I think in like feeling like you get us because of the personability. Yep.
Nailed it.
But you know, like you and I do more of the communication together than Darin and you do, and it's been so good for us to put, I think you putting that firm line in between us really was one of the best things that ever happened, and not us crossing paths, because you mentioned this in the beginning. How is it running a business with your spouse? And challenge number one would be running a business with your spouse. So I mean, while it's super challenging, you have helped us not blur the lines a ton, and that's been so helpful. Now I know not everyone's running a business with a spouse, but you're running a business most likely with someone else, probably a partner in some format, and you've helped us just define the back end pieces that we need to be in charge of. And as far as someone being skeptical, like I don't think that we were ever skeptical. I think in the beginning it was probably like, okay, but like financially, can we even afford a business coach? And however, like you have to do something to get return out of it. And I think that we immediately saw return out of it. And we were like, oh, okay, why didn't we do this on day one? Yeah, I don't know. Do you want to add something to that?
I think, you know, when you're looking for a coach, you're looking for somebody who's going to guide you, give you the tangible assets, the tools necessary to propel yourself forward in whatever endeavor that is. There's also an element of coaching where you need somebody that's going to provide corrective feedback and also encouragement. And I think that was one thing. There would be days in the business to be like, am I doing a good job? When you're a small business owner, there's no one there. Like I felt like so many days, like as a small business owner, that I just felt like isolated in a way. Like I don't want to make the wrong decision because I own a business. So there's kind of this, you know, presupposition, this kind of preconceived notion that you should have it all together. If you're running a gym, you should know how to do this stuff. And there are a lot of days when you're like, I don't know if I'm doing it, and I don't know if I'm doing it right. And so having someone who that is making businesses operate better, having that person be able to say, Darin, you kind of missed the mark on this one, but that's okay. This is what we're going to change. This is what we're going to tweak. And that's the same thing when you're an athlete. It's like your coach is going to have that tough conversation with you. You're almost there, but you kind of missed the mark on this one. Good rep, but we can be better. And I think as a business mentorship program, it's like you guys are getting there, but we can be better. You can be better. You can do better. I know there's more in you. And then when you have those experiences where you do hit the mark, there's somebody there going, I knew it. I knew you had it in you. And I don't think we had that. And I think having that, and there are still days when, you know, I remember a couple years back when we were first initially working with you, you're like, Darin, you're doing a great job. I'm like, no, I'm not. I wasn't there yet. I wasn't receptive to I was very critical of myself. And I wasn't receptive to positive feedback. And now it's like, hey, Kristen, I think I'm doing a good job. All right, let's keep going. And it's exciting because you feel that other hat of a coach, that's the encourager, the support system, the person who's on the sidelines. Like, you know, any good coach like that is worth their coaching time and money, they're the person on the front line. Like they're the person closest to the field of anybody. Like you see that in any professional sport, the coach, like whether it's a team or a one-on-one, man, the coach is almost more excited than the athletes. Throwing the clipboard and they're like, oh my gosh, we did it. That's crazy. And they, you know, and when you have somebody in your court like that, you're like, see, I told you guys you can do that. You're like, okay, well, what's the next thing? Let's go. And I think that's the cool thing about like having a coach. And you don't think of that in business. Like you think if you're opening a business, I should have it figured out.
Darin could tell me that I do a good job every day, but if Chris tells me one time every week, I'm proud of you, it like makes me
So
want to cry.
obnoxious.
No.
Sorry.
I go home and I'm like, Darin, read this text message that Chris sent me. He's proud of us. And I get like so excited. That is so worth it because I like want to make people proud. I want to make you proud. I like want you to see how well we're doing because of what you've done for us. And I mean, yeah, Darin can see, but we're in it together. So having someone else that's not like in it with us every day.
I think the coolest thing, and we're actually coming up on your 90-day meeting, like what I get really excited about is knowing that we have these milestones, these points in time that we're working towards. We're all on the same page. And then it's like the daily grind of figuring out what makes sense for you, what makes sense in your situation. Because you're right, like not everybody has partners, not everybody has kids. So it's about trying to make it work for you. There's no cookie cutter template that is going to work for everyone. And that's the piece that I like to, have a personal impact on, and what makes you guys, probably the hardships you look back on, you realize like, hey, we started a business, we started a relationship, we had added kids into the mix. Like you guys went all in, like, and to organize that and create that world and make it all work is just amazing. So I think you guys are great role models. I think that for the people that see this are going to be inspired. I think they're going to, really understand that this is a labor of love, and we are passionate coaches. We are, here for a purpose of helping people and starting their relationships. And my hope today is that, people hear your story and say, maybe I was, off track and I need a coach. Maybe I am service hat only and not realizing that I need to become the person that starts a relationship for someone. And that's how I become my best coach. So like you guys shared so many nuggets in there that I'm excited to share this message in this video. So thank you again for your time. Oh, go ahead, Kitty.
Yeah, just one more thing too, because for me, being on our weekly calls twice a week, it's so helpful to have a peer group as well. Like you've built a peer group of people who are going through similar but very different things across the board, across the world, I guess too, so knowing what other people, like I could be on affiliate owners page, I could be on anything and seeing what other people are going through, but like actually diving into everything with people who I call business owner friends every week, twice a week. And when Darin hops on there too, is so helpful that you've built that for us too, to have the just other knowledge.
Yeah. We all need it, right? Like we need to understand that it's a process to grow as a person, and then it's you that has to change and develop so that you can grow into the person that builds this bigger business, this better business. And I think that's the theme that I want people to take away is like, if it's not transformational for you as a person changing, it really will just be a task or something that you're trying to find a template for. But until you dig into it and lean into it and make it your own, like you guys have done, you're not even going to really put that effort, that intensity into it. So thank you guys for doing that. And for those of you guys who are listening, if you want more information about what we do and, experience what they have shared, go to factoryforge.com/call, and we can set up a call to chat and walk you through our process and see if we're a good fit. So thank you guys again.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.